My name's James Gilchrist, and I'm taking the role of the Evangelist in the forthcoming performance by the Bach Choir of Bach's St. Matthew Passion. It's great for me to be doing it, actually. I've had a few years off. I used to do some performances of this piece with the Bach Choir a few years ago, and for one reason or another not been able to do the last couple, so it's lovely to be coming back, and I'm very much looking forward to it, actually. So Bach's Passion has been performed by the Bach Choir for quite a few years, and it's seen them through some times when to perform the music of Bach, a German composer, was perhaps not the most politically sensible thing to do when Germany and England were less friendly than they perhaps are now. And so it's seen us through war, and perhaps it will see us through Brexit as well, which would be a great thing. And yeah, what does it do? Bach's St. Matthew Passion tells us the story of the Passion of Christ. So from his arrest and trial through to his crucifixion. And my role as the evangelist is to tell the story. So we start telling the story when Jesus has his head anointed by a lady who pours precious ointment on his head, and the disciples express outrage that such money should be wasted and this should go on. And we take it through from there to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he's arrested, and then through his trial and eventual crucifixion. And the end of the piece comes when he's laid to rest in his tomb. And we, as the musicians and as the audience, express our grief that this story has happened. Of course, we all know that that's not the end of the story, that Easter is coming, and this is very much a liturgical piece. Bach saw it performed in the run-up to Easter, and it was perhaps the most important liturgical piece that happened until Easter Day, when with great joy we fling open the doors, as it were, and proclaim the risen Christ. The Passions have, in Bach's time, were deliberately set to very ornate music. They were the high point of Holy Week was the performance of the Passion, and gradually over the years, and there's a pigeon, and gradually over the years, the Passion took on more and more embellishment until eventually, I think perhaps the Passions of Bach are amongst the most involved pieces that have come from this tradition. And indeed it takes quite a long time. A performance of the Matthew Passion takes maybe 2.5 hours. The Bach Choir undertakes a kind of performance that is unusual and yet traditional. This performance has been made like this for many, many years, and unusually it's in English. Of course the piece was written in German, but the Bach Choir's performance is in English, which allows the performers, who are Englishmen by and large, and the audience to experience this story immediately without having to consult a brochure or without looking at the surtitles. I think one can have views as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and certainly my own experience at the moment is that I perform this piece a lot in the run-up to Easter, and this is the only performance I do in any language other than German. But I think it's valuable to hear it in another language, and we're lucky that the translations that we can call upon are good and allow the music of Bach to be combined with words that we will understand in such a way that it makes sense. I suppose the other thing that's unusual in the Bach Choir's performance is that it's a big performance, not perhaps as big as it once was. The Bach Choir used to employ a big symphony orchestra and singers who perhaps were used to performing with the symphony orchestra, and perhaps they used to undertake performances that were not so informed by historical performance practice ideas. But under their director David Hill, gradually we've sort of combined some of these things. So we use a much smaller orchestra, florilegium, playing on instruments which Bach would have understood and would have recognized. And indeed, I think the pace of the thing has upped somewhat from performances of yesteryear. And I feel this is a very happy coming together of performance practice and tradition in the Bach Choir's tradition. So we will have a performance which has people who are perhaps experts in the field of performing the music of the 18th century, along with the other exciting thing that you get with a performance with the Bach Choir, which is having a chorus of some 200 odd people. I mean, I say that I do this piece a lot, and to be honest, I rarely perform with such a big choir, and certainly Bach would never have performed with quite so many people. But what we gain from having that is that in the powerful, dramatic moments when the chorus is baying for blood, when the power of the piece is through the weight of the music, we have, having lots and lots of people involved, a real power in the performance, which I think is very, very exciting to be a part of.